Itamar Augusto Cautiero Franco was a Brazilian politician who served as acting president of Brazil from 2 October 1992 and as president from 29 December 1992 to 1 January 1995. He was vice president of Brazil from 1990 until the resignation of President Fernando Collor de Mello. During his long political career, Franco also served as senator, mayor, ambassador and governor. At the time of his death he was a senator for Minas Gerais, having won the seat in the 2010 election. Early life and family background. Franco was born prematurely at sea aboard a ship traveling between Salvador and Rio de Janeiro. On his father's side he was of partial German descent, while on the mother's side he was of Italian descent, with both of his maternal grandparents having emigrated to Brazil from Italy. His mother's name was Italia, which means Italy in Portuguese. Franco's father died prior to his birth. His family was from Juiz de Fora, Minas Gerais, where he grew up and became a civil engineer in 1955, graduating from the School of Engineering of Juiz de Fora. Career before vice presidency. Entering politics in the mid-1950s, Franco first served as alderman and deputy mayor of Juiz de Fora, before getting elected as mayor. He resigned as mayor in 1974 and ran successfully for the federal Senate as a representative of Minas Gerais. He soon became a senior figure in the MDB, the official opposition to the military regime that ruled Brazil from 1964 to 1985. Re-elected as a senator in 1982, he was defeated in an attempt to be elected governor of Minas Gerais in 1986 as a candidate of the Liberal Party. During his tenure he was one of the key figures of initiative to immediate restoration of the direct elections for president. During his Senate term, Franco served as place leader in that chamber. As a member of the National Constituent Assembly, which began on February 1, 1987, Franco voted for severance of relations between Brazil and countries that develop a policy of racial discrimination, the establishment of the writ of mandamus collective, 50% more pay for overtime after a 40-hour work week, the legalization of abortion, the continuous shift of 6 hours of notice proportional to length of service, the union unity, popular sovereignty, the nationalization of subsoil, the nationalization of the financial system, of limiting the payment of external debt burden and creating a fund to support land reform. Meanwhile, he voted against propositions to reintroduce the death penalty, confirming the presidential system and extension of President José Sani's term, whom he opposed and called for removal for an alleged corruption. Ironically, when Franco became president, Sani became one of his allies. Vice presidency. In 1989, Franco left place and joined the small PRN to be selected the running mate of the presidential candidate Fernando Collor de Mello. A main reason behind Franco's selection was that he represented one of the largest states, and publicly he gained during his call for impeachment against President José Sani for an alleged corruption. Collor and Franco won a very narrow election against a man who would later become President, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. Once in office, Franco broke with Collor, threatening a resignation several times as he disagreed with some of the president's policies, especially regarding privatization, voicing his opposition openly. On Tuesday, September 29, 1992, Collor was charged with corruption and was impeached by the Congress. Under the Brazilian Constitution, an impeached president's powers are suspended for 180 days. As such, Franco served as acting president from October 2, 1992 until Collor resigned on December 29. at which point he formally took office as president. When he became acting president, despite having been vice president for nearly 3 years, polls showed that the majority of the population did not know who he was. Presidency, domestic policy and presidential style. Franco took power as Brazil was in the midst of a severe economic crisis, with inflation reaching 1,110% in 1992 and rocketing to almost 2,400% in 1993. Franco developed a reputation as a mercurial leader, but he selected as his finance minister Fernando Henrique Cardoso, who launched the Plano Real that stabilized the economy and ended inflation. In an unusual gesture, moments before taking office, Franco handed senators a piece of paper on which he had listed his personal net worth and properties. Initially, his approval rating reached 60%. After the troubled Collor presidency, Franco quickly installed a politically balanced cabinet and sought broad support in Congress. During his presidency, in April 1993, Brazil held a long-announced referendum to determine the political system and the form of government. The Republican/presidential system prevailed by large majorities respectively. Ironically, Franco himself always preferred the parliamentary government. In 1993, Franco resisted calls from various military and civilian officers to shut down the Congress, which was described by some sources as a coup attempt. His administration is credited for restoring integrity and stability in government, particularly after the troubled Collor presidency. The president himself kept his reputation of honesty, and his personal style was viewed as very different from Collor's, who practiced an imperial and ceremonious presidential role. On the other hand, Franco's own personal behavior was sometimes described as temperamental and eccentric. In late 1993, Franco offered a resignation in order to call an earlier election, but Congress turned it down. At the end of term, Franco's job approval rating soared to nearly 80 to 90%. Until May 2016, Franco remained the last president of Brazil not to have been elected as such. Foreign policy. Despite being sometimes described as a man with limited diplomatic skills, Franco is credited with launching the idea of a free trade zone covering the whole of South America, which was praised by such leaders as U.S. President Bill Clinton. Also during his government, Brazil ratified important pacts, which set Brazil on the non-proliferation path. After the presidency, Franco was barred from running for a full term in 1994. Whenever a Brazilian vice president serves part of a president's term, it counts as a full term, and at the time Brazilian presidents were barred from immediate re-election. Fernando Henrique Cardoso became the official candidate to succeed Franco and was elected president in late 1994. Franco, however, soon became a severe critic of Cardoso's government and disagreed with the privatization program. Thereafter, he served as the ambassador to Portugal in Lisbon and then as ambassador to the Organization of American States in Washington, D.C. Until 1998. Franco considered a presidential run in 1998, but ultimately backed off after constitution changes allowed Cardoso to run again. However, he was elected governor of Minas Gerais in 1998 against the Cardoso-supported incumbent in a landslide, and as soon as he took office, he enacted a moratorium on state debt payments, worsening the national economic crisis. Itamar Franco served in the governor's seat until 2003 and was then the ambassador to Italy, until leaving the position in 2005. During the 2002 presidential election, Franco endorsed Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, who got elected, even if he, again, declined to run himself. Having unsuccessfully sought, at age 76, the PMDB presidential nomination in 2006, he backed Geraldo Alckmin against Lula, despite having been considered again, despite his advanced age, as a candidate for president in 2010. Franco ran instead to be a senator from Minas, and won the race along with Neves. Personal life. Franco was divorced in 1971 and had 2 daughters. Before and during his presidency he had a reputation as a ladies' man, and his personal life was a subject of huge public interest. He authored some 19 published works, ranging from discussions on nuclear energy to short stories. Having been diagnosed with leukemia, Franco was admitted to the Albert Einstein Hospital in São Paulo on May 21, 2011. On June 27, his condition worsened and he developed severe pneumonia, being taken to ICU and placed under mechanical ventilation. He died in the morning of Saturday, July 2, 2011, after suffering a stroke. 7 days of mourning were declared by President Dilma Rousseff, after lying in state in the town of Juiz de Fora, his political base, and in Belo Horizonte, the capital of Minas Gerais. His body was cremated on Monday, July 4, 2011, in Contagem, in the metropolitan area of that city.